Yeah, we did see the victory dance there. The question is, who will do the dance after they win? Is it Jamabi or is it Alfa?
Good question. We're going to decide that right now. I cannot wait. What's on the line? A slot in the World Championship. They have made it so far. Weeks of the online portion of the Open Major have led to this. 16 players. And it's boiled down to only 2. It's Alfa and Jamabi. It's France versus Germany. Let's get them off. Let's get them going.
Yep, Alfa slashing through the tournament. 2 3-0s in that one. And I think another 3-1. So he wasn't in the position to play any NMPZ yet. Jamabi, on the other hand, just had that NMPZ game. So
yeah, we'll see if we can get it again. It should be exciting. Alfa coming off that 3-0. Wow, wait. Oh, I was going to say, this looks a little bit like Darwin, and I see Alfa kind of zooming in on Indonesia for a second, so I got a little bit confused, but nope, he's locking it in.
He had me worried for a second because Black Car does exist in Indonesia as well, so... But he got there. He got there.
He got there in the end, and so does Jamabi. It's going to be a little farther south, but kind of that area in the Northern Territory of Australia. It makes a lot of sense with the look of everything. Just a couple points to start us off, and we're going to head straight on to round 2.
Round 2 seems like a Nigeria from the looks of it, just those houses here. And we do have a state name here, I think Taraba State. It's set on Jamabi's screen from the start. And meanwhile, Alfa is off to moving, even though there was information at the beginning. Meanwhile, Jamabi looking at the borders of Nigeria just to see, wait, which state is this actually?
Finally, Alfa comes across a sign of his own with a couple town names. It doesn't look like he recognizes them, though. Welcome to, what did that say?
EB.
EB. Can he find that in so little time? It doesn't look like he will. Jamabi might have this on the round 2. Could be a nice start. He is going to be closer by a fair bit. That's going to be a couple 100 points.
Yep, the first bigger points in this matchup go to Jamabi. Once again, off to a decent start. You know, not just yet 1k points, but nonetheless, almost. As we go into round number 3, what's the country here? Did seem like a Mexico off the start, but now I see a double yellow lines and I'm not confident anymore.
Alfa is zooming in Mexico and locking it in too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he saw there. He just lined up the road and instantly guessed it. We have a very flat place here. The question is, does Jamabi also see maybe mountains east that would be helpful to go the western coast?
Yeah, looks like he does. He's in Sinaloa. Timer's up. It's gonna be Alfa closer, but 2 really great guesses.
Yeah, and Alfa just putting the pressure on there, but Jamabi, thankfully, you know, keeping his cool, also close by in Los Mochis.
Very nice stuff. And we go to round 4, and it looks like Colombia. Yeah, the Colombia flag.
Yeah, the flag, the yellow plates. What else do you really want here?
Yeah, can't ask for much better. Now they just need some town names. They're going to need to narrow it down within the country.
I think it said Tolima, which is a state. But meanwhile, Jamabi finds Ibague on a moving truck. The question is, do you trust it? Jamabi did. So that's where he locked it in. Now the question is, does Alfa follow? Because he did have a similar information.
Yeah,
at least for the state of Ibague. And he puts it down there as well.
He puts it there too, and it's farther south of both of them. They're on top of each other. That deserves a wave. There it is.
Well, I think Jamabi waved, but there was the animation on his character was there, but it didn't fly up.
We didn't see it. It's okay.
But there was a wave.
He did do it. He did do the wave. Takes us on to round 5. Looks like Peru.
Yeah, because I could see him looking at his keyboard, trying to find that 4 key, which does the animation, and it's usually not something you use a lot in GeoGuessr, so you have to kind of double check. But yeah, we are in Peru here. We have tuk-tuks. It looks very dry and mountainous, so Jamabi again with a very far northern guess. And it says Región Cajamarca, so he will be correct on the region here, hopefully.
Yeah, Alfa has not really seen anything. He's looked at a couple signs, but he didn't really look at them too closely. Or maybe he did, because he's right next to Jamabi. Just didn't really look like he had used it. But it would appear he did.
Yeah, no information needed for him yet again. It's kind of like the Mexico one, where he did put the instant guess down. But this time a bit slower. Jamabi actually pushing the pace, but no big points exchanged. And we're kind of even now, going into round number 6. Another Australia here. This time it doesn't look like Darwin.
Yeah. It does feel very coastal, though.
Yeah, this seems like a national park because we do have a lot of like parking lots. if that makes sense. And that's also looks
Visitor
like
center.
Visitor center.
Good call, Ziggy. I like it.
It doesn't mean anything really. National parks are pretty much everywhere in Australia.
Yeah.
Beautiful country.
True. They just need to find the name of the park. So far, nothing. Just fee collection area or something like that. Strictly prohibited. No dogs. That's sad.
Yeah, can't enjoy it with your dog here. But it seems like no super helpful signs here. We have a Wa by Alfa here. There are a lot of national parks in that southern coast of Wa. The question is, could it maybe be southern Australia?
Ooh,
There's
mountain
a big
over
mountain,
there.
and we have a pretty confident zoom there by Alfa, so he might have it.
He might. Jamabi's nearby, though. Let's see. Timer's up, and Alfa is the one on it. 776 meters away, the 4997. That's 2,000 points of damage, Ziggy.
I mean, that could have been the game right there. Jamabi just barely getting into Wada in the last few seconds.
Yeah.
Keeping himself just about alive as we go into round 7. Seems like in Indonesia, information off the spawn.
Wow. Alfa.
Wait.
Alfa see. Alfa just locked it in, and he's in South Sulawesi while Jamabi's in West Nusa Tenggara.
It says Sumbawa. Jamabi should be correct here. It says Sumbawa, and Alfa, I don't know if he sneezed or if he just was disgusted by his guess there, because I do think Jamabi should be on it here.
Yeah, it looks like he is. Jamabi, very nice. What did Alfa see? I'm so confused. He takes the game on that.
I think what happened is he saw a roof instantly, and maybe it reminded him of the South Sulawesi roof. It's very, very common and usually very, very precise. But this time it misled him. He was too confident with his insta-guessing.
Yeah, I really don't think he saw any signs. I think you're right about that roof call, and I think it was really just architecture clues like that that made him make his guess, and it was wrong. Jamabi took the time, found the information, very nice use of the signs, staying calm, and he does it after Alfa had a nice lead.
Yeah, he had a good run with his quick guesses and also guesses without information in Mexico and Peru. Jamabi never really doing that. Jamabi only guessing either when he is forced to by Alfa or after he found good information. But right there was information off the spawn, and Alfa not taking that singular second to look at the sign loses him. Game number 1. That means Jamabi 1-0 up, going into a nice Poland round to start off our no-move game. Yellow sign there. Good meta to know that's Poland.
Yep, and it looks like they're both kind of just going to do that central hedge. You even see Jamabi reacting to it. Kind of the classic, quite a hard country to region guess. A lot of it looks very similar. So you see both players just clicking in the middle and going on to the next. Round 2.
Yeah, also a country that can look very generic if there is no meta available, but it seems like there is a Kanto pole top right there, which is kind of like a very sharp top. And it seems like both are kind of looking at every single pole, just making sure, but I am quite confident this should be somewhere around Tokyo where Kanto is, and that plate also confirms it being silver-ish. But we do have a zoom that looked a bit weird, but he ends up in the right region, I think, so...
Yeah, they're both just going to be there. Jamabi holds the flawless, just barely, deals 90 more points of damage, and we go to round 3. Some quick ones to start off the second game.
Yeah, I think for these players, no real challenge in those locations, so kind of just quickly send those ones. As we have a Turkey location here.
Shout out Gelotris.
Shout out. With a few houses spanned that just looked they were copy-pasted there.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. What do you think? I know you've got some training on Turkey from Gelotris. What are your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, so I don't want to make any bad calls here. We do have a lot of tiled roof, actually. My first guess was further east, like Gaziantep, maybe. But now I'm thinking, could we maybe be further west? But I really like the general region around like Kahramanmaraş. Something like that.
Wait, Alpha's just central. Okay, the guesses are both pretty good there. Gelotris won't have to crash out about that. It's close. Couple hundred points there. Jamabi does still hold the flawless. And we go to round 4.
Yeah, definitely good for the mental, taking not only game number 1, but also the start of game 2. As we go into, it seems like US. It looks very, very American here.
Yep.
Now the question is, can anybody make out those card plates? One is a bit visible, but doesn't seem like a super recognizable one, like, for instance, the New York one, which is completely yellow. That just seemed very white.
Yeah, you do want to find those plates if you can, but sort of a difficult one, I would say, sort of, Pennsylvania was just going to be a shout I was going to make. Alpha kind of zooming in there. I like Pennsylvania or somewhere sort of in the New England vibe.
Whoa, Jamabi, did you see that? He actually hovered about Oregon. He was like switching between the two, so he's considering it because there are a few like taller pines there, but not usually the ones you see in Oregon. So I do think this like New England, especially as you mentioned with the houses.
The houses feel very New England
those
here.
white like board. And he's with a crying emote from Jamabi here, but he doesn't seem to switch.
Okay, he's in Pennsylvania and New York from Alpha, even though the plate wasn't yellow, but it is that Ohio actually in the end? It's right on that border, Ohio and Pennsylvania. Jamabi is closer, and that's a very nice hit. Now, Jamabi with a very big lead here. As we go
it didn't look very far away from each other, but that ended up being a pretty decent hit there for him, but still on the flawless as we go to this beautiful car, actually. Usually it is found near Dublin, but also in London a lot. So we do see a quick guess by Alpha just being like, you know what, this is the UK, we see yellow backplate. And in the UK, usually it's London. So I do think Jamabi will follow.
Yep, looks like he does. This is just going to be one of those rounds where all we do is rack up the multiplier.
Oh no, Jamabi.
Oh, 6. He loses the flawless. Ziggy.
Can he recover from that one?
I don't know if he can.
I am not quite sure there.
I think he will basically still flawless now on the round 6. Yeah, the multiplier now 3.5 times damage.
That seems like we're moving to Eastern Europe. That looked like a Bulgarian pulse without any hooks on it, but still looked pretty recognizable. And we see a quick lock this time by Jamabi. I do think he's in the right country. Alpha, meanwhile, taking his time. Doesn't seem too sure here, maybe because those hooks are missing on that pole.
But he is still going to go Bulgaria, and once again, very close guesses from our two players, just farther west of the both of them. But Jamabi closer once again, still only taking 6 points of damage so far in this no-move game.
Yeah, after those 6 points, he didn't want to take even more damage, and we are going back to Turkey this time. Definitely looks like around the area of Konya here, with these very dry, flat fields. I hope I'm not wrong with that call, but I am quite confident.
I love the confidence, and I must say, Alpha's locking in nowhere near where you said. Jamabi is considering Konya and exactly where Alpha is.
I like the Konya guess by Jamabi here. This could be his second game if he is correct, and he...
Wow! He is! He does it! 4 times multi! He takes it! Great shout, Ziggy! And Jamabi, you've both got that Gelotris training, and it's paid off.
Gotta learn your Turkey right there. It pays off 2 Turkey rounds in this game, and Jamabi closer on both of those, so maybe another shout out to Gelotris if he wins it. He is so close to it. 2-0 up for Jamabi. Turkey to seal the deal, and as you said, only 6 points of damage dealt. And we're going back to moving this time though, so a quick change of pace.
Yep, quick change of pace. Would be quite interesting if Alpha, after 3-0ing Noxie in the semis, gets 3-0'd. I hope I'm not jinxing it. I'm currently knocking on wood.
There's no wood here.
I'm looking for it, but I can't find any. It's okay. Regardless, it's moving. I hope we get to NMPZ. Of course, we want the content. So let's see what they can do here. Alpha needs the comeback, but health has been reset, multis have been reset, and we're on moving.
Yeah, this time a big country to start off round 1, even though there are no multipliers here. We should be in Russia. A lot of Cyrillic signs here. And abundance of signs, but none of them really having a town name or a helpful phone code.
Yep, really no good information.
Oh, there is a phone code on that. It says 83. That should be somewhere around that area, I think, if that says 83. I think it says 8342, something like that.
Wait, and Alpha's in St. Petersburg. This could be massive. Oh, it is up by St. Petersburg. Alpha deals 1,600 points of damage.
And Jamabi with the sign, they're saying 883, because 81 would have been the area Alpha is in. So I don't know what it says on the sign. If it was 81, Jamabi, don't complain because you were in the wrong phone code area. But if it was actually 83, then Jamabi is correct. Complaining there. But let's move on to round number 2. A lot of damage, actually. We haven't even mentioned that 1.6k.
Oh, that's what I did. That was crazy. It's so much damage, and we're just on the round 2. Alpha now sitting in a really nice spot here on round 2. Let's see if he's coming across a sign here. The N4 and the R36 in South Africa. Those should be very findable.
Yeah, Emalaheni is a very big town east of Pretoria, and that he instantly zooms into. Quick, confident guess, and I don't think Jamabi will reach the sign he went to because he did move south, and we see Jamabi moving north.
Yep.
So you will have to make a guess based off the landscape.
Let's see, he's pretty far away. Yeah, really nice from Alfa there. Good find on the sign and used it very well, very quickly. And Jamabi already on less than half health going into round 3.
But again, we did see a quick guess on Indonesia in the last game, which lost him the game. This time, he will take a good look on those signs.
Yep.
Looking there instantly, I can't quite make out what it says. I don't think it was anything helpful because otherwise one of them would have at least opened the map.
Yep, great point. They're just going to keep looking for more information. Now, they are both moving south, but I think Alfa already moved past this sign that Jamabi is using.
Yeah, I think it says...
Oh, no, he didn't. Now he comes across it.
It says Sambas, which he instantly recognizes. This is also the sign Alfa has, so he does have the same information. So if he reached that Sambas, then he will definitely know where it is.
Yep, he gets it. He's even taking all the time possible in case he needs to narrow that guess down even further, but he doesn't. He leaves it there, and they're on top of each other. It's just on the coast.
A bit of a side there, but maybe unlucky.
Unlucky.
Could have been very big for him if Alfa didn't find any information.
We go to round 4 on Russia. Big country, big points. We started on Russia, and even with no multis, we saw the type of damage that can be dealt on a Russia round. Now the multiplier is 2.5 times damage. This could be big, Ziggy. What are we thinking?
Yeah, we did have an instant zoom onto the antenna. It seems to have a blurred one, so there are a few areas you would consider here. Surgut, obviously, it doesn't really look like Surgut. We have a big dry hill. Another possibility would be something like Sakhalin. I'm not quite sure if it is, and there's also an area near Novosibirsk or Irkutsk. And if I forgot something, Finbar will let me know.
True.
Later, and guess shame me.
Well, let's see where it ends up being. We already only have 15 seconds left. Neither player coming across a sign that seemed helpful at all, so it's going to come down to a region guess. Going to have to play it almost like a no-move game in the end. Less than 10 seconds left. Neither player has opened the map. They're taking that last 360 pan. They end up zooming close to each other, but on opposite sides of Lake Baikal. Who has it here? Timer's up. It's Alfa? What is that? Siggy, Alfa with an insane guess. He wins. Moving.
That is a complete switch up from him there. As I mentioned, one of the areas north of Irkutsk. I called that one.
Yeah,
definitely one of the areas you have to consider there. But I don't know how he did that, but he lined up the right down there in the end. So a completely different moving game there by him, really just taking his time, and it worked out. So maybe something to consider for the future. We are done with the moving games though.
Yeah.
Jamabi, only 2, game points left, but I think it's well possible for him.
Yeah, really anyone can do it now. It's very clear that Alfa has calmed down a bit. He was guessing too quickly, I think, in especially that first moving game, but it would appear he's calmed down. He's taking his time now, and we saw it there. Very impressive moving. We're back to no move. Jamabi starting us off in Peru a little bit closer. That's 202 points of damage.
Yeah, both instantly spotting that writing on the walls which said Trujillo, so both kind of guessing in the mountainous part, obviously, because we were not in the town itself, but just the region.
Round 2 now, Romania. Quick zoom and send, and Alfa's in Hungary.
I do like Romania more just because of how the landscape looks here, and I think the road lines are a bit too thick to be the ones in Hungary.
Is Alfa going to keep it there? He does, and it will be Romania. I was going to say Alfa has calmed down, and he was taking his time to use the whole 15 seconds to consider, but even in the end, he stayed there in Hungary, and that's a massive hit on the round 2. Jamabi now with a great lead here. Alfa 3,800 points.
Yeah, you said Alfa taking his time, though. He couldn't take any more time than 15 seconds extra. That was like 17 seconds total. As we go into this round, a pretty nondescript location, no car, and just a dirt road through the forest.
Yeah, Alfa has opened the map, zoomed in on South Serbia.
Yeah, obviously Serbia, one of those countries in not in Germany, in Europe, that has no antenna. You do see Jamabi also considering it, but also Italy is something you can consider because there's a lot of Italy without antenna.
Wait, Alfa zoomed in on Kentucky right now.
I mean, it is not impossible to be the US, but just the cracked pavement would make me believe it's not. This type of road would be very rare. I do not believe he will switch.
I don't think he will either. Jamabi has now locked in on Serbia. Alfa Yep, goes back over. It's actually Turkey. Is Gelotris crashing out upstairs, Ziggy?
I mean, I didn't even consider Turkey. It looked very weird.
Yeah, that was a weird one. We'll have to hear from Gelotris on that later.
We saw just Jamabi being like, I'm sorry, Gelotris, because he did put his hands together praying that Gelotris will be not too mad after he saw that one, but not an easy one. I didn't even consider Turkey, but yeah.
Yeah, difficult one, but they both had the same vibe there. It would have been absolutely devastating if Alfa had moved to the US, but he never even moved the pin. Just a light consideration. We do move on to round 4 here. It looks like Argentina. Jamabi has placed the pin and locked it in. Alfa has a pin nearby.
A lot more north here. We have a big discrepancy in guesses.
Wow, wait, that's actually massive. Jamabi with 2.5 times multi. Is that enough?
Is that it?
Ziggy, it is! Jamabi is going to the World Championship!
Germany is getting a second representative aside Lenly.
Wow!
Who will do the dance?